All right, guys. So now we have Ishaan. He's going to be talking about budgeting. So now we've covered fundamentals, principles, understanding what demand gen is, to demand gen campaigns where demand creation programs, as Helena mentioned, from Sandeep. We got a lot of examples. Then we had Raghav, and now we have Ishaan to really talk about the budgeting, which is one of the most important things. So, yeah, if you're looking for that next budget for your next demand gen campaign, let's hear for Ishaan.
Thanks for the intro, Jivitesh. Before I start, I'll just quickly, I think just say two statements, and it'll be great if maybe folks in the chat, you can just share if you think it's true, it's false. I think let's start there.
Yeah.
Perfect, awesome. This is the first statement I'd like to start with. The buying journey is not linear. Do you agree, disagree broadly? Like maybe you can put that in chat, right, folks? I understand. Like a lot of I see a lot of people in the audience are from India, and it is late. But anything else? Yeah. So Dhruv agrees. Aite agrees. Jivitesh agrees. I'll tell you what I think in a while. Okay, my perspective on this. Here's the second statement. To make your audience buy from you, you first need to make them aware of the problems, and then you also need to educate them on the solution. How about this one? I think everyone agreed to the last statement. What about this statement? Depends on the problem. Interesting, Dhruv. Udayan agrees. This is interesting. Jivitesh also agrees. Cool. I'll tell you what I believe and also the solution. Perfect. The first statement, I actually believe the buying journey is linear, and we're all just drawing the wrong line. And today I'm going to show you the line that I'm speaking about. The second one as well, it's not really true, because we've all seen our customers approach us without us ever having to educate them. That's what we call demand capture. And most SaaS companies sell to execs at other companies. And once an exec prioritizes a problem that you solve for them, they're going to solve it themselves. Right? That's one of the things that they're hired for, problem solving. And I absolutely love saying this. If you give any competent exec 100 years, they'll discover all the problems in their purview, and they're going to solve them too. With demand gen, all we do is we change the order in which you prioritize the problems in your favor. And in a while, I'll show you how to use this to increase the ROI of your demand gen activities as well. I love the expression by the emoji by Sakshi. So let's just get started. Folks, I'm Ishaan Shakunt. I'm the founder of Spear Growth, which is the marketing agency. We help B2B SaaS companies with ads and SEO. In just the last 2 years, we worked with over 50 companies across industries like fintech, HR tech, dev tech, martech, security, and much more. So the frameworks I'm going to share with you today work across industries. Since day one of Spear Growth, we've invested in a lot of R&D. We spend our time, focus, and budget on it, which means doing things like formulating, testing, and documenting new initiatives that bring our clients higher ROI, and more importantly, higher ROI consistently. Today, I'll try and give you everything away. I'll give away everything, right? Everything I've learned, everything I've built around demand gen. I am a technical guy, so I'll go deep into almost every topic I talk about, so you can implement it from tomorrow. So if you'd like to take notes, do so. Either way, I believe at least the recording, the slides, and every template I'll show you today will be shared with you. I'll have to quickly touch on how I look at demand gen, what the funnel looks like, before we can get into how do we calculate ROI of it. So let's before we jump into it, let's define it. So I spoke with at least 20 marketers who I look up to, and none of us could agree on a single definition of demand gen. And I'm sure like through all the three presentations that you've seen and that you've seen today, right? Everyone had some definition of demand gen. This is the one that I think most of us here and most of the people that I've spoken with agree with. Almost all the activities, marketing activities that we do when our audience is in market is demand capture. And if they are not in market, those activities are usually demand gen. So that's what I'm going to referring to whenever I say demand gen, demand capture, anything throughout the slides. And other things in marketing sort of fall around it, pipeline nurture, branding, and there could be 30 other things, but they all sort of just fall around demand gen, demand capture. So good demand gen, right? Or to do demand gen really well, we need three things, and a lot of folks would have spoken about them. We need to do messaging well, targeting well, and we need to get the timing right. But without measurement, we cannot really be successful. We'll be going blind. So we need four things. Also, without projections, you won't get approvals for anything. And I saw a question in the chat asking about, hey, how do I get approvals for this creative campaign that I want to use for my demand gen? You will not get approvals, stuff like that, without you creating good projections for it. So actually, there's 5 things you need to do well in demand gen: creating projections, messaging, targeting, timing, and analytics or measurement. And we'll talk about 3 out of those 5 things today. We'll start with messaging, go to analytics, and end at creating projections so that you have the context when I'm talking about it. So the first thing we'll discuss is writing winning copy. And I'll show you the path that I referred to, which all of you said that, hey, the buying journey is not linear, and I'm here saying that it is. I'll show you the linear path that I'm referring to, and I'll show you how to use it to create really, really, really good copy consistently. And I'm going to give away the problem-solving path framework today. The next thing we discuss is the sample funnel. I'll show you a sample funnel for demand gen, and I'm going to be discussing all of this in the context of ads, using demand gen for ads, not all of demand gen. So I'll show you an entire ads funnel that works consistently, and I'll also share all of our ads within it. So if you want to use our scripts, you want to use our ads, you want to take inspiration from them, create your own funnels, you will be able to. I'll talk about setting very clear metrics for demand gen. I'll show you why that's very important. And it's going to be, I'll show you clear leading and lagging indicators. Helena did a great job at that, but I'll go more specific in terms of just ads. And then finally, we'll talk about creating actual projections. And I say actual because we all know no one can really create projections as of today. And I'll give away 3 sessions where I do it with you, for your company. So with that, let's now get started. The first topic, writing winning copy. About a year ago, at Spear Growth, right, 1 in 3 demand gen campaigns would work. And this was still profitable, right? We would still be able to get really good ROI for our clients. There's obviously room for improvement. If we can increase this from 1 in 3 to 1 in 2, we will be able to increase our ROI by 17% at least, which is significant, right? The problem is this would require us to somehow magically know which campaigns work and what messaging would resonate with our audience before ever running the campaign. And I would like to highlight the word here, magic, because that's not possible. But then I spoke with a couple of people that I really, really look up to, and it seemed like it is, right? The secret lied in our understanding of our audience's behavior and psychology better than we do today. And when we think of audience behavior, we think of the buyer's journey. And I'm not going to mince my words. The problem is we all think that it's crap. We all know that it's crap. It doesn't work. We keep justifying it by saying that it's complex, it's not linear, and all sorts of BS. But after the discussions I've had and looking at the right path, I'll show you that in the next slide, right? The buyer's journey, so to speak, is part of a path that is linear. And I call that the problem-solving path. Before we look at this, you need to understand that if you're looking at not a buyer's journey, which focuses more on the audience, we're going to be talking about a problem-solving path that focuses more on one problem of your audience. So you have to think of a problem, and there could be multiple problem-solving paths that the same audience is going through, and there will be. This is the problem-solving path that I refer to. It starts with a trigger, which we are all familiar with. It goes to exploration, and then it finally ends at evaluation. During the trigger phase, it's you versus other problems, because execs and other decision makers at companies usually have a lot of different problems that they're facing, and all you need to do is you need to figure out how to prioritize, get them to prioritize your problem. So one way you can do it is by agitating the pain of the problem you solve, and just really pushing it in, right? The second stage is the exploration phase. And here you're again not competing against your competitors, but against other solution types. There are a lot of ways to solve a problem. For example, I'll show you really good examples today actually. So you could solve the same problem through better processes. You can solve the problems through a better team, hiring freelancers, consultants. You can use the software that you sell today, or maybe a different software altogether, right? So there's a lot of ways to solve problems. So it's you versus other solution types, and you need to reduce the friction in the problem-solving path favorable to you. And then finally, it's the vendor selection phase, and here is where we finally are competing against our direct competitors. And here you need to focus on two things: differentiation and stakeholder alignment. Differentiation is basically, okay, how are we different from our competitors? Why should you choose us versus them? All that good stuff. Stakeholder alignment, because a sale is made the moment every single stakeholder that is part of that decision agrees that yes, this is the vendor we need to go with. And since you all disagreed, I'm sure there's going to be, try and find an exception to this path. I'm sure there will be. But the first 3 people who do, I'm going to send you a $10 gift card. Fair? Just send me a DM on LinkedIn maybe. If you find an exception to this path, let's have stakes to it. So again, when starting your campaign planning, don't start with the company, start with identifying the problem you solve. And then instead of talking about the solution to the problem, use the framework to figure out the message. And this is a more detailed version of the same thing that I just showed you. It starts with problem prioritization, goes to solution exploration, and then it ends at vendor selection. And this is the final Miro board that I'm going to share with you also. This is the first giveaway for today. So again, I've mentioned don't screenshot this. I'm going to send this entire Miro board. Can you all see the Miro board move in the presentation? I think it's really cool. You can? Perfect. So this is the problem solving path, right? Now it starts as problem prioritization, and it has 3 stages inside it, right? I want to break down the stages into 3 sub-stages. The first one is problem unaware, which is what we're all used to, and this is the least common stage we ever use with our clients. This is the most useless one, if I want to word it that way, or is the least useful one. The second one is the problem solvability disbelief. Third is problem importance unaware. Inside solution exploration, there's going to be solution type unaware, which again is the least common one. The more common ones are difficulty overestimated, benefits underestimated, or risk overestimated. And similarly, there's 7 stages in the vendor selection phase, which you can look at this, right? So this is the path that I believe is linear, and I've seen it to be. And so the first thing that you do when you use this path, and hopefully you will use this, right, is when you're crafting messages, start with making 3 bets. The 3 bets that you're going to make, The first one is, which of these paths or which of these sub stages do I think that if I educate my audience on, I will help them push down the funnel and go down the funnel and closer to buying from me. So the bets can be, you can take 2 stages from here, all 3 from here, 1 from each of them. It doesn't have to be 1 from each stage. It can be across stages, right? So just 3 bets across all of these sub stages. That's the first thing you do. And usually when we're doing this for our clients, the first 2 stages, the bets you take there come from your problem prioritization, and the third one you pick, usually our clients pick from solution exploration. So since I assume you'll do something similar when you try to use it for yourself, let me show you a couple of examples that are slightly unique. The first one is a fintech company. So I was speaking with the head of marketing at this company, and this is a large company. You've definitely heard of them, and you've probably also used their product directly or indirectly. And we were discussing how Spear Growth could help them with their demand gen. And I'm going to break down the conversation I had with the context of these stages to help you understand this better. The problem that we are discussing was that they wanted to move up market. So that's the problem. That's the first thing we need to understand. And not only had they identified and prioritized this problem, they had also identified a solution which they had started implementing. The solution to the problem was, one, they were building up their team to do this, right? So they had a team, they were sort of hiring more folks, they were strengthening their team. The second thing they did was they got an ABM software and they were onboarding that. Now, the importance of this problem was high enough that if they could do anything to increase the chance of making it work, they would. And most problems that SaaS companies solve are similar. You won't do a single thing to solve it. For example, if you take, let's take employee productivity. You will probably have a Slack, like a chat channel. You will probably also have a ClickUp, a project management tool. You will have a third thing, a fourth thing. So you're going to have multiple things to solve the same problem. Similarly, they already had 2 things in place. I'm speaking with them. I obviously want them to work with us. So again, they've gone through the first stage completely. And they had identified not 1, but 2 adjacent problems, 2 solutions to the problem. The solution that we were discussing was how Spear Growth could help them in a more consulting style engagement rather than usually how we work, where we work with our clients, and we would work with them, their team, to implement ABM better. So, and here's where I'm going to show you how to use this for advertising. So if we wanted to advertise with similar companies, which is B2B SaaS companies that are Series C and above funded, probably have a demand gen performance marketing team in place, and offer a demo on their website which shows their go-to-market strategy, which will then help us figure out that, yeah, they probably want to go up market. What would our strategy look like? First, I would not talk about problem prioritization. So let me just go back into this, and because this is what you'll be using as well. What I will not talk about is any of this, because I'll not talk about the problem solvability disbelief, because they're already solving it. I'm not going to talk about the importance of it. I'll not talk about the problem, because obviously they know they need to go up market. They've already done that. What I will talk about are 3 stages. The first stage that I will talk about is problem solvability disbelief, right? Which is this one. The first one is the first one would be the solution type unaware, right? So they had a team in place, but then they didn't know they could hire a consultant like Spear Growth, and then, increase the chances of what they're doing work. So that's the first thing that I would focus on. The second stage that I would focus on is maybe solution risk overestimation, because maybe the biggest risk in hiring consultant is their team would not agree to work with a consultant like us. Hey, why should I listen to these folks? Because we know what our shit, we know what we're doing. Fair. So I need to show that to them, and the way we would address the first problem is different from how we would address the second. The third stage would be solution benefits underestimated, right? So maybe they don't know how useful this would be for them. That's the three bets I'm taking. After I've taken the three bets, and just mind you, all three are from the solution exploration stage. None of them are from vendor selection. None of them are from problem prioritization. And that's why it's unique. After I took the three bets, I now, as step 2, we're going to convert this into message. The first thing we did is, okay, for the first one, that they're not aware of the solution type. We're looking at, okay, how can we show them that this is an option? This is a straightforward messaging. The second thing that we're going to do is, we're going to, for the risk overestimation, right, we might do a freeze or like a session with them where we'll discuss or we'll show them or work with their team to do this with them, right? So that's the second thing. And the third thing that we will do is maybe for the solution benefits underestimation, we're probably going to show them examples of the initiatives we'll take during the consultation program, and we can also show the benefits of that program and what can they expect out of it. And that's the message. The offer also is something that we've discussed, right? We've discussed that, hey, we could give out a free session, or we have discussed that we can create a document of sorts which shows them a list of initiatives. So we've done that. And again, these are step 1, 2, 3. I've not touched the copy yet. And this is very important. In step 4 is when you create the copy, and I'll not go deep into it, but then that's where you convert that into your ads, your landing pages, your email workflows, your messages, everything. That's the stage you look at here. Does that make sense? Step 1, make bets. Step 2, convert to a message. Step 3, figure out that offer, and offers are not discounts. It could be things you're doing, it could be features, it could be maybe a demo. That's an offer. And then the steps to convert. Here's another example of a MarTech company. Now this company is again, it's a company you must have received some sort of marketing communication. You must have received some sort of marketing communication because of them. And the problem we were discussing here with them, they're a client, was increasing customer retention. And for companies they've sold to or they sell to, customer retention is a problem everyone is very well aware of, because this is one of the key metrics that they report for themselves. They show it to their board meetings. So in this scenario, we picked these stages. We picked solution solvability disbelief. And let me just go back here. So we're going back here, right? So the first thing we picked was solution solvability disbelief. Retention, yes, everyone knows it can be solved, but then, hey, we already are at this % retention. How much more can we really expect? Interesting. Solution benefits underestimated, that, okay, we know that this kind of software exists. We know that this is what it does. How much of a benefit can we even expect from here? That's the second thing we picked. And the third is solution risk overestimation, that, hey, how likely what are the chances that it will actually work? So maybe showing different offers. And you can already start crafting, so we probably understand that after these bets, it becomes very easy to, this is probably what I'll tell them. This is what the copy will look like. This is what I should offer them. And this is one thing that you need to take power back from maybe your management, from your clients, to create offers or to work with them to get offers different than, hey, get on my demo call, or hey, take my free trial. Because I personally believe offer beats copy every time. And then finally, a third example of spear growth itself. And this is an example that didn't work. So we identified a problem where, so we all know GA4 just got sunsetted, right? Google Analytics got sunsetted. We thought that this is a great time to just get folks in. We can do that migration for them. This is super important. Every company has a Google Analytics. Let's target them. And it didn't work. We picked 3 stages. All the 3 stages we picked was from the second set, which was the set of the middle set, right? This one. the solution exploration stage. We picked 3 here. And it didn't work because I believe that I am a marketer that loves looking at numbers, but probably in their companies, that's not the case. So it wasn't an important problem to start with. And those were wrong bets from our end. So another thing that this helps you do, this framework, is even if things don't work, you know why it doesn't work instead of just having to say, hey, LinkedIn does not work for us. I mean, come on, try a different message, try a different stage, right? That's the third example. So these are steps: make bets, convert to message, figure out offer, and convert to copy. And I'm going to be giving away the problem-solving path. You can send me a message on DM on LinkedIn. I'm just going to send it over to you. If maybe we can send over email as well. Let's talk about the next one, the sample demand gen funnel. We've audited a lot of companies' LinkedIn messaging strategy, because apart from auditing this for our clients and prospects, we do this for about 10 plus companies a week as part of our R&D training and marketing. And most companies' LinkedIn marketing strategy looks either like, hey, there's a top of the funnel, a middle of the funnel, and a bottom of the funnel, and we are great marketers and we're trying to push them down it. Don't get me started on that entire funnel concept. The second kind of marketing strategy that I've seen is, here's a content piece, download it, and then I'm going to send my sales team after you, or I'm going to just run an entire drip sequence of marketing that's going to run after you. Lead gen ads, I have nothing against lead gen ads, work really well, but then not in this context. And the content that you share usually is either thought leadership, or you're talking about your features and benefits, or you're showcasing a lot of social proof. When you look at the cost per SQL or the cost of pipeline generated, it is almost never profitable in these scenarios. So what's the funnel that I am recommending? It consists of 3 things. The first one, it has a cold layer, it has a retargeting layer, and it has air cover. So the cold layer is exactly what we just discussed in the last section. The message that you create there is the message that goes in the cold layer. And this is where you're doing all of your demand gen. Since the messages if you use our process, it talks about a problem, engagement of an audience to the problem can be taken as an intent signal, and this will help us create projections and metrics later on. So it needs to be relevant to this, right? We're doing all demand gen here. Engagement is an intent signal, which we can use to capture demand through a retargeting layer. And you can have a single layer if you have a smaller audience, and you can have 2 or 3 layers if you have a larger audience you're running retargeting to. And air cover is just your text ads and your spotlight ads, which take almost no budget to run. I'll show you what percentage of budget you should spend on each of these also. And that's basically it. I'm not going to go too much into it. So there's a cold layer, send to retargeting, send to air cover. Do not try to do a pure lead gen. Don't really try to do, hey, there's 3 or 4 funnels, I'm pushing them people down it, because most of the stages when they're moving down the funnel, it's not stages that they'll move through the funnel if there is a funnel without ever having an interaction with you. So just prioritize it and let them do their job. So that's the 2 layers. Let me show you the numbers that you can expect through different layers, because if I'm asking you to do it and implement it tomorrow, here's what you can expect. If you have a audience size of 1,000 users that you can actually target, they're active. And if you have a CTR of 1.2% try frequency, usually it's easier to get a 0.8% CTR, but if you get something like this, these are how the metrics will look like in month 1, month 2, and month 3 of running the cold layer. Your retargeting layer grows as you're running the cold layer. Approximately, right? Obviously approx numbers, but I love showing them for you to take a decision. Another example, if you're not using an image ad, but instead you're using a video ad, now here we are not looking for clicks, we're looking for, let's say, 50% video views. And the percentage here is much higher than clicks, obviously. So if you look at the size of the retargeting audience also is much larger in month 1, month 2, and month 3. And the third example I'll take is of thought leadership ads. Here again, the engagement here means things like liking, clicking on hey, see more, looking at things like maybe commenting, all of that comes under your CTRs or engagement rates, so I'm happy to take that. But then that is much higher, which means the users that you'll build up is much larger. These are rough numbers, so take it for that. But then this should help you make a decision that hey, should we test out thought leadership ads? Should we test out some videos? Should we use images because they're easier to or cheaper to create? What do you want to do? We personally love using thought leadership and video ads a lot for our own ads at Spear Growth, just FYI. And we use a lot of image ads in the retargeting as a mixture with other style of ads. Now here's a bonus. When running ads, even though I'm talking about ads, don't limit your demand gen ads to, well, ads. I don't know how many times I said that word. Make them run in sync with other channels. Now, we create a weekly report for our clients where they can see which companies are seeing our ads this week and how many people from each company saw our ads the previous week and how is that increased week over week. So we're able to see this weekly information, which means you can actually take action weekly. Or you're able to set triggers like, hey, these companies are now ready to reach out to, which is super important to even be able to do this. So we can now work in sync with our outbound teams to reach out to specific companies, and we can also work with our organic social teams, and that's what we've been doing at Spear Growth. Since the last 1 month, I've not been posting, but I've been getting a lot of engagement. So that's what I would discuss in that section. Let's rush to the metrics section. I know I want to make sure we're getting to the projections part as fast as possible. Now, setting marketing metrics has always been pretty easy, right? Go to your CRM, open SQLs by source report and see which channels have had the highest contribution. And this causes a lot of issues that we all know about. It certainly does not work for demand gen, which has a much longer time between the time someone sees an ad and they become an SQL. And these complexities are why we need to customize our metrics depending on how we approach demand gen. And Helena covered this pretty well in her session. I'm going to focus more on metrics for ads specifically. So the first thing I'll look at are your lagging indicators. And these are mostly things in your CRM or if you have an attribution tool in that. And these are very important. And this is what you would want to report to eventually as your primary report. And this is what you'll show to adjacent teams like sales and management. These are the two metrics I would recommend. Did they come to us? It's basically pipeline from meaningfully engaged audience. And I'll explain what this means in a while. And what did this say that prompted them to schedule that call with us? And this is your self-reported attribution. And just remember, it's meaningfully engaged. Please do not start claiming credit for every single lead with a single impression. It does not work that way. And the problem being is that your lagging indicators can take 3 to 4 months before you see whether it's working or not. Which means that a campaign that works well and a campaign that does not work well will look exactly the same for the initial months, which is horrible. Because imagine having that conversation after 4 months and hey, we've been doing things that has resulted in nothing for 3 months. And we've spent a lot of money on that. So to avoid that, we need very clear leading indicators. I'll share 3 sets of metrics depending on the types of mixes of campaigns and demand gen that you have. The first set is your set of leading indicators on a platform level, right? So you want to see, okay, is your message resonating? These are your engagement numbers, and this is what I showed you when I showed you the code layer and how it moved down the retargeting layer. The first metrics that you saw were the engagement numbers. The second are the right people seeing our ads? These are your audience side. The third is the offer really valuable? It's behavioral insights. Basically, if the offer is on a page, then looking at the page metrics. If the offer is on a document, you can see document behavior, you can see it there. Depending on what the offer is that you're giving, if it's the call, then how many people are actually showing up. So that's your behavior insights. And finally, the last one is, are we really moving the needle, or we are just doing a few things and it's not enough volume? There's a number of influenced companies that's increasing week over week. And again, this is not just influenced companies, these are meaningfully influenced companies. What this means is, if you look at companies that, let's say, have, let's say, 200 impressions to the right stakeholders in a company, or they've engaged 5-6 times with your offers that talk about pushing them down the problem solving path, that's what I'm calling meaningfully influenced. So you have to look at it at a company to company level, and I love looking at this on a week basis so that you can actually work on this. These are leading indicators. They should not be looked at in a month's time. The second set is if you're doing outbound as well. So I mentioned, right, in the bonus section, that if you're doing ads, you also need to probably, if you have the week on week insights, you can actually do outbound to them. You can have qualitative or quantitative measurements to this. The quantitative measurement would be just have a control, and basically a control is what normally would your reply rates to your outbound be, and then have an influenced, right? For example, if you have a list of meaningfully influenced companies, how many of them would be replying to this? Those are the two quantitative metrics. In your qualitative metrics, just ask sales, hey, when you spoke with them, when they finally responded, did it seem like they knew about us already or not? It can happen they don't, which means you need to look at what's happening throughout the metrics we've just discussed before this. Those are two. The third set is if you're using organic social also with this, for example, if you're using thought leadership ads, so I get a lot of connection requests from our ICP. That's the third one. You will get these slides. So again, you can look at these metrics. You can try and ideate on what these metrics would look like for your company through this. Now let's finally get to creating projections. Earlier this year, I commented on more than 10 LinkedIn demand gen influencers posts. I asked them how they would budget for demand gen, and these are folks that I still look up to. Sadly, I didn't get a single approach that was reliable or even remotely useful. Their answers, if they even answered, fell in 3 categories. One, use the waterfall model, which is same as the demand capture, that, hey, we got these many impressions, clicks, SQLs, their entire MQLs, SQLs, all of that stuff. The second answer that I got was spend X% of your budget in demand gen. Could be, some people said 20, some said 50, some said 80, but there was no science behind it. And this is important. And then the third type of answer that I got was demand gen is good marketing and it shouldn't be measured. And this is the one that frustrates me way too much. This is just an excuse that you're using to get away from having any thing to report for, right? So let's not do that. Since we couldn't get anything from outside, we had to develop our own ways to project results, and that's what I'm going to show you. We've tested this only with 4 companies till now. We've seen about an 80% accuracy, which is pretty good, which means we can now actually allocate budget based on data-backed logic and not personal beliefs. 2 call-outs before this. One, these projections are complex. There's a lot of things you'll have to first assume, and then you'll have to quarter over quarter see if your assumptions hold. So it takes about 1 to 2 quarters to actually. So the first time you create projections, they won't be really that accurate. The second time you'll have to look at real numbers and plug them in. So that's the first call out. The second call out is let's let go of the notion that you'll see this conversion in your CRM as the last touch source. With the last touch source is LinkedIn ads. Yes, you'll see a few, but the majority of them won't show up there. So I'm going to be completely ignoring all of those conversions that we see attributed to demand gen when we are creating these projections. As discussed, we'll be looking at lagging indicators. So your and we'll have to see those in your CRM. So Mr. CRM, we still love you, don't worry. And before this, let me simplify this. I'm going to create projections only for the code layer, but you can add in the budget you would need for retargeting and air cover as well. So if you're spending $77,000 a month on code layer, you would spend $2,900 and $100 here. Right? That's the split how you need to think about this. So the projections are going to be on the code layer, and the rest you can just take it in this percentage. So this is the first important metric that I'm sharing with you. And again, these slides are going to be shared with you, so you will be able to plug these formulas in. You'll have the formula. So for now, I'm going to share insights per stage of exactly. I'm going to share insights per stage that you can know exactly how you can tweak them and play around the projections so that you can better optimize them. And when creating projections, you want to create money projections, which means you have a dollar amount both on the left-hand side and right-hand side of the equation. Which means I want this amount of dollars in budget, like which amount of budget in dollars, and then to create this amount of value, and this value can be quantified in dollars or as close to dollars. You can try pipeline, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. And I'll create these projections in 4 parts: reach, cost, influence, and value. Think of these as 4 steps. Figure out the reach first, the cost, then the influence, then the value, and then you'll have an entire chart of numbers which, if you change anything in the entire sheet that you create, it's all going to change, and you'll be able to estimate, okay, if I only have this much budget, what kind of results can I expect? So the first thing you want to calculate is how many people you're targeting. This is the formula. You'll use the company, the average number of people in your buying committee, your list's match rate, and how many of them would potentially be active on LinkedIn in your industry. The insight I'd like to share here is the match rates can be as low as 10%. So use a data provider which is compatible with LinkedIn, which can help you scale your campaigns by almost 10 times, which is bonkers, right? So just do that. If you don't have that, use a tool to add LinkedIn company pages to the list of companies that you're using, and you'll get match rates above 95%. In the second stage, after you've calculated the number of people you're targeting through this formula, in the second stage, you're going to calculate how much money you'll spend on this. And just like with any other projection, once you complete it, you can come back and tweak things, so this will change. If you have the budget, so again, this is the formula. You just take spend, look at the number of people you're targeting, frequencies, cost per CPMs, and you'll get to know, okay, how much spend do you want? And if you have the budget, I would keep the target frequency on the higher side. Think close to 20, 30 at least. And remember, this is not per ad. This is overall for all of your ads. So if you have, let's say, 10 ads, or every ad is only being shown thrice. So that's what this frequency is in the overall frequency. This is not per ad. That's the kind of frequency I would keep when creating these. In step 3, I'm going to calculate the number of people that I'm able to engage. And this is the influence I have on the people. So here we're looking at engagement rate, spend, frequency, and CPMs, and you'll be able to calculate the engaged people using this formula. Inside I'll share with here is the engagement rate does not matter if your content is too generic. So don't cheat. Follow the problem-solving path. If I can run an ad with a picture of a cute cat, and I'll get a very high engagement rate. It will mean absolutely nothing. So the message has to be relevant for the projection to even make sense. This is step 4, where you calculate meaningfully engaged companies, and meaningfully you will have to define for yourself. And this is the formula you can use. You can use just engaged people and the number of people in your average buying committee, and you'll be able to calculate how many companies you've meaningfully engaged. Just make sure you're spending enough that this increases week over week. This is also something that I had shared during the metrics, the leading indicators section that we discussed today. And finally, let's calculate the value, the actual pipeline or the influenced pipeline. This is a more complex formula. Just go through the motions, look at the numbers. You'll be able to calculate this pretty easily. The slides will be with you. Just take this formula, implement it, you'll get it. So the way you calculate, the one insight here, right? The toughest thing would be in this entire is percentage of companies that are in market in the next quarter. So to understand this metric, look at the buying trends for the last year or if the last couple of years, if you have that. And then you can estimate it based on that. For example, a lot of companies sign up to work with us for ads in Q4 and Q1, which means the next 2 quarters is going to be great for me. So more companies are going to be in market for us in these 2 quarters. So this number, percent of companies in market in the next quarter, is going to be higher for us when we run ads for Q4 and Q1. But then this number will be lower for us when we run ads for Q2 and Q3. And this is, even though you have all the formulas, if you DM me that, hey, you need help with your projections, I'll create this for you, right? So for 3 people who attended today, just send me a DM. I'm going to create the projections for me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Ishaan Shakunt, or you can send me an email on ishaan@speargrowth.com, and I'll create this for you. So let's just quickly recap. At the start of the conversation, I stated 2 facts. Let me rephrase them. The buying journey is not linear, but the problem-solving path is. And again, there's a $10 bounty if you find exceptions to the path. So send me those. You don't have to educate. The second statement was you don't have to educate your audience, but you need to help them reprioritize their problems in a way that's favorable to your company to make any meaningful impact. And that's all we do with Demand Gen. Next, we discussed these 4 things. We discussed how you can improve your demand gen messaging using the problem-solving path, how you can structure your ad campaigns differently. We discussed how you can set the right leading and lagging indicators for your ad campaigns. And finally, I shared a bunch of formulas which you can use to create actual projections for your demand gen campaigns. We also have these 4 awesome giveaways for you. A funnel that actually works with all of our ads in them. The problem-solving paths framework. It's the same Miro board that we worked with you today. A document, or this is the document actually, with all the metrics which you can use to measure your campaigns, and 3 one-on-one sessions with me where I'll create these projections for you. If you'd like to discuss if you're a good fit for your ads or SEO, you can schedule a call with me via website. You can use the bit.ly link on the screen. You can scan the QR code. So thank you so much for spending 45 minutes of your time on a Thursday, or I think Wednesday, the day changed, with me. You've all been great. Enjoy the rest of the session. Over to you, Jivitesh.